This is something we can agree on, right? No? No stimulants? Okay. Definitely not cream. Definitely not. Did you guys read those comments? The polarity of potential perceptions is amazing. Oh, sweet Lord. Sweet Lord. Check this out. Morning contemplation time. Lots to think about. I've done a lot of experiments in the past, and this one is extremely multifaceted. That's why my videos are gonna be more like podcasts. In fact, this is my first podcast. Yeah. Because to make a video on an isolated idea, when life is multifaceted, just doesn't make any sense. You're never gonna come to any valid conclusions if you keep isolating aspects of the whole. Just like no diet is gonna cure you if you are living in a house with a disgruntled relationship. There's a lot of different variables, and everybody's situation is unique. So that's why I find it is ideal to learn as many tools as possible so that you have the tool you need when you're in the situation that calls for it. There's no diet, in my perception now, that's gonna last you through all your days unless your environment never changes and you never age, because what you require will change as you do. So being ketogenic or vegan or carnivore is all a matter of where you are now in your health, in your genetics, in your environment, and spiritually as well. What your direction is, what your focus is. I'm not attempting to go back and become a caveman and live like my ancestors. Nor do I want to be a robot and live on a completely synthesized sludge. There's a nice marriage and integration that I seek. And I'd like to talk about it. That was a long introduction. I'm gonna sit down, write some thoughts, and be back in a second. It wasn't all of the scientific research or all of the influential YouTube videos that I watched that really got me to change my ways. I was hanging out with this guy. Yeah? What do you eat? Oh, you know, he liked me before, but now he really likes me because I fed him steak. I'd like to talk first about the comments and the broad spectrum of disdain and support that I received. And I believe the most important thing to focus on is the word compassion. Especially if it is your mission to convert as many people as possible to living a compassionate lifestyle. We have to learn to be compassionate for each other. People make mistakes. This could be a mistake that I'm making right now that is less than ideal, that is hurting other life forms and damaging the whole. I'm open to that. And if you've never made a mistake in your life, then throw stones, my friend. But if you have been subject to deception in your past, to where you were talked into believing something that turned out to not be true. You may have even shared it with other people, thought it was true, and tried to help other people out. If that's never happened to you before, this isn't for you. But I know what's happened to me. I've made lots of mistakes, and I'm guaranteed to make more. So we have to be compassionate for each other. Some of the best comments that I got, you can really tell the level of maturity and wisdom of the individual based on how they phrase their wording and how they respond to experiences like this that could be triggering. There's definitely a lot of people triggered. The more mature and supporting individuals had a very neutral and loving, supportive stance, even if they themselves were vegan. And even just from a psychologist's point of view, if you're trying to talk somebody in to your frame of mind, don't use guilt and shame. Say somebody does go carnivore that was vegan, and one day they want to return to vegan, but they remember all of this shame and guilt and stones that were thrown. The people I remember are the ones who were neutral in their stance, who lovingly supported me and gently made their suggestions of how it may have been a good idea or a bad idea. They loved me through my mistakes. They were kind and gentle. They knew that we're gonna make mistakes. So you catch more flies with sugar, you know what I'm saying? If you really want to support the movement of compassion, learn how to be kind whenever you have that anger arise in you. A lot of us were raised to be manipulated by our parents through guilt and shame and through society. So when we want to try and change somebody else, those are the tactics we use. But think of how you want to be talked to see the light in a new way, in a loving and comforting way, and try to express your comments that way. Now that we got all that emotional shit out of the way, let's talk about what I actually did 2 nights ago. Full moon, just coming out of Leo. I bought a pound steak, beef chucks, from a local organic, grass-fed, hormone-free, antibiotic-free, humanely raised cattle producer. Ate it around 9 o'clock at night. A little bit of salt on it. Fried it in a pan with some water, some oil, and a lid on it to lower the age content, the glycation. And it was delicious. I genuinely enjoyed it. There was a lot of chewing involved. Literally, my back molars were sore the next day because I haven't chewed on anything like that in a while. And how some people on the carnivore diet can consume more than 2 pounds of meat in a day is pretty crazy. I believe that since my body's already adapted to ketogenic lifestyle and caloric restriction, the transition's not going to be that difficult for me. Although there would definitely be a redistribution and population shift in my gut microbiome. That's going to be the most uncomfortable challenge. Other than that, I don't believe I'll actually have to consume that much protein. For the last month, 2 months, I've been consuming basically a protein-based diet, a hydrolyzed whey source with other amino acids added in, fresh pressed oil from chia, flaxseed, and hemp, and either making that into a smoothie or a paste. I'm eventually gonna make a bar once I get the proper tools, and multivitamin mineral supplementation. That's the extreme of my laboratory diet experiment. Now, I'm not gonna completely desert that. Dessert. That's what it's gonna become, is dessert. Yes. So I'm still gonna use the whey protein. I'm still gonna use those amino acids, definitely glycine, and some of the supplementation. I'm not completely clear on what I'm gonna keep and get rid of because I don't want to overdose now that I'm consuming actual food. But I'm going to integrate the use of animal products with what I've been doing. And right now that seems to look like, with an expanded eating window, which I've been playing with for the last month and a half as well, or more than that, maybe 3 months, 6 to 8 hours. I wait till I have genuine hunger in the afternoon, normally around 2 or 3 o'clock. Then I'll break that with the smoothie, with the whey, with the bar, whatever you want to call it, whatever form I put it in. And then cruise on that and then have dinner. 8 or 9 o'clock is where I like it because I'm not really tired till around 10 o'clock, and I've grown to like the pattern of eating late in the eve. Puts me in that parasympathetic state and I just pass out and sleep well. Speaking of sleep, it's been 2 nights now that I've consumed flesh, and the first night I slept well until I woke up at about 2 o'clock in the morning. Granted, it was a full moon. Woke up at 2, I was wide awake. And so I just ended up walking around the yard, meditation, breath work, went and trained. Training was good. I didn't feel like I was in that big of a sleep deficit. And to be honest, I felt like I was on a stimulant most of the day. There's a strange level of altered state going on that I'm experiencing right now. Almost like a mild psychedelic experience. And that could be from a number of things, but I'm just kind of tripping out on where I am in life, I think. I've been a vegetarian for about 15 years. Not a majority of that, about half of that was vegan. The other half, mainly pescatarian. I don't think I've eaten red meat other than this pork this Thai family gave me in Thailand in a very special circumstance that I chose. It was a great time to accept that. I haven't eaten beef in 15 years. So, feels a bit surreal. And like I said, there's almost this kind of air of altered state to it, so it's very interesting. Can't jump to any kind of conclusions for a while. It takes a while for the body to adapt. Most people go through this phase of difficulty, mainly I think getting over carbohydrates and reestablishing where you're getting your glucose from, upregulating gluconeogenesis since you're not eating carbs, so you can re-establish your glycogen stores. But I've been eating keto for the last year almost completely, with intermittent bits of carbs. So I'm adapted to it. This morning my blood sugar was 73 and my ketones were 0.4. I do feel a little bit of low blood sugar, kind of shaky, but all in all, it's a fascinating experience. And I do consume and receive the gift of the food that I get with complete reverence. I eat as a ritual. I only eat once a day, a proper meal, and that food that I consume is a ritual. It's a ceremony, and I'm extremely grateful. By the time it's the end of the day, you got that hunger, and you sit down to eat, and especially if you have more family together, there's a lot of appreciation. And that's a big piece too. Ever since I was about 16, I think, 15, whenever I went vegetarian, it's kind of separated me from my family and from the people around me, because sharing food is a big culturally significant pastime. And to a large degree, I was way over it. It didn't bother me to sit there. Other people are eating while I'm fasting, or I'm not eating what they're eating. But experiencing just sharing my food with the dogs, everybody around me is eating the same thing. It's a feast that we're all sharing in, and I'm extremely grateful for that. So I'm appreciative of that impact as well. So liver was one of the primary things I wanted to try. and I found some yesterday morning and picked it up nice and early because I was awake at 2 o'clock in the morning, got out of the gym by 6. Saved that until the evening, threw it in a pressure cooker for 3 minutes, maybe a little bit too long, with some rosemary. Spices, by the way, lower ages production when you're cooking food. And it was good. This night, the night following that, after I had liver and a steak, probably about a pound total for dinner, I slept straight through the night, woke up at 6 o'clock this morning, felt a little slow this morning. I've also chosen to add cream to my diet now. I spoke about that in the last time. And so I'm mixing, if I do that protein mix during the day, it's half cream, half chia oil, because I want the high ALA too. So there's a lot of variables in this experiment. Everybody's an individual. Don't base what will happen to you by looking at me. We all have our own state of metabolism, our own genetics, our own environment. Oh yeah, back on the topic of liver. I called multiple different ranches. I went and checked out one of the ranches in the slaughterhouse. I'm gonna go check out another one. And I called one of the ranches and asked them if they sold liver. And she said, we have to get the USDA guy to approve it. You know, we slaughter about 6 cattle at a time, and we normally just get one of those livers approved. And I was like, oh, that's questionable. She didn't know exactly what they were testing the liver for, and the inspector wasn't there, so I ended up calling the USDA for the island of Kauai and talking to a woman there to ask what they inspect for. And she said, fluke worms. The liver parasite known as fluke worms. Liver flukes. Nothing to bat your eyes at. Some scary shit. And so then I ended up calling the slaughterhouse that I got my liver from, of course, with a little bit of worry and a little timid because I'd already called this lady like 3 times asking her everything about her operation, how the cattle's raised, what they're given through the whole spectrum of their lifespan. And she was kind enough to tell me, yes, like they have an USDA inspector on hand when they slaughter the cattle. He tests the livers, and that on that part of the island they have a high incidence of liver flukes. She expressed her belief is that they bring in a lot of cattle. Her cattle aren't from here, she says. Their cattle aren't from here, and it's also on the west side where there's a lot of GMO going on. So genetically modified organism potentially influencing those cattle, maybe making their immune systems weaker. Maybe it's the source of water they drink from, their practices, I don't know. But I was very happy to find that out and get a little bit closer with that slaughterhouse, that butchery at least. So something to be aware of. Yeah. There's 2 other ranchers that I'm gonna check out later today or sometime this week. Yeah, all around grateful and appreciative. Also, meditation this morning was relatively stable. I think just a good night of sleep and stable blood sugar are very influential things in one's state of mind. So I found it relatively easy to find stillness and maintain focus. That's definitely one of the main factors that I'm going to be observing and watching, is just my feeling and the clarity of my mind and all around connection to myself and life. I think that's about it, guys. That was a good rant. Let's see, made a list. It's a good idea to write shit down. Looks like I got a pretty good memory. Main thing is stop being assholes. Catch more flies with sugar, my friend. Patience with each other, right? We all make mistakes. And let's try to support each other through this. We're all in this together. Nobody really has any idea what's going on. we're just doing our best. So be kind, and be patient. It's the best thing I can share. Lots of love, guys. See you again soon. Peace.